Hey there Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. Okay, so in today's video we are going to be taking a look at how you can find love and romance using astrology. So we're going to be doing another deep dive into the birth chart today. However, before we do get into this, definitely make sure that you give this video a like if you like it. Also, make sure to subscribe if you have not already, and to, of course, click that little bell icon so that you can keep yourself updated with further content from myself. And one more quick thing just to mention here is that I have some really nice merchandise pieces available on my Teespring. So if you're interested, then go to the link in the description box. Okay, so with all those introductions out of the way, let's do this. Okay, so first and foremost, what is the definition of love? Well, according to Google Dictionary, love is an intense feeling of deep affection, and it is also a great interest or pleasure in something or in someone. And then the definition of romance is a feeling of excitement and mystery associated with love. So if you haven't already guessed, we're going to be talking about romantic love and relationships today, but we're also going to be getting into how this romantic love connects in with unionship. So basically we're going to be addressing the dating side along with the slightly more committed side. Even on that note, I am kind of thinking of making a separate video all about commitment within astrology, so definitely let me know if you want to see that in the comments or give this video a like. Alright, so now you know the definitions of love and romance. Where can you find these components of a relationship within the natal birth chart? Well, the first house that I want to bring your attention towards is the 5th house. And this is because the 5th house rules over the likes of romance and love in astrology. Basically, it's the 5th house where sparks fly. It's an area of life where we become giddy as we fall weak at the knees when someone we admire likes us back, or when it comes to how we feel admiration towards somebody else. You know the feelings I mean. Those butterflies that kind of whirl around, they flutter around there in your stomach when that person that you like looks your way, or when that person you like likes your photo on Instagram, or when you've been on a few dates with someone and you start to feel all excited thinking, you know what, I can see this turning into something more. This is all 5th house territory. Not to mention the sheer feelings of specialness that leave you feeling starry-eyed. I mean, to think that you're the main focus of someone else's attention as they lavish you with their sweet words, or with kisses, or with gifts, or with more dates. Though, of course, I do understand that these things, they vary, okay? They vary, they differ depending on many factors. But it's still that 5th house area within your birth chart that pertains to the dating scene. It sort of represents the type of love affairs that you experience. And it addresses that very quest for romance and how you really approach romance. It also gives us an insight into the types of people who spark feelings of love and admiration from within us. Therefore, it's the 5th house that plays a major vital role in shaping our love and romantic lives. It's a pretty important component when it comes to attraction. Now, I have made a video about physical attraction specifically within astrology, so if you haven't watched that already, I do suggest watching it. But the fifth house, along with sun energy in your chart, these things, they take attraction to another level, okay? They take it a step further, if you will. So let's get into some examples to explain this better. Let's say you have Virgo in the fifth house. There might be a system to how you approach the dating world. You might prefer to do things in a very particular way, and you might possess high expectations when it comes to dating, such as you formulating certain things that you refuse to tolerate from potential lovers. And you might also express your romantic feelings in a way that is more practical, it's more grounded, such as you physically doing things to show your love. And the types of potential lovers who grab your attention or who spark your interest, they may be people who are more clean-cut, people who are intellectual, people who can hold down a job, or people who are health conscious. But then let's say you have Aries in the fifth house. You might approach the dating world or romance with a quickness, with an eagerness, with a lot of energy. So you might jump pretty quickly into the first date, for example, without really thinking about, the long term. It's just like, let's just see how it goes. I want to live in the moment, experience this for what it is right now. Or you might be a risk taker when it comes to dating, such as going on adventurous dates or dates that involve just real physical movement, or something that's a bit more creative, something that keeps you stimulated physically and mentally. And there can also be an impulsive assertiveness when it comes to how you express your romantic feelings. And then the types of lovers that you might go for are those who come across as more confident, more courageous, people with a clear path, who know what they want. Now, these, of course, are merely examples, but I hope you get where I'm coming from with this. Though what's also important to keep in mind is the location of your fifth house ruler. So for example, if you have Leo ruling the fifth, then you're going to have to locate the sun for more of an insight. Or if you have Cancer ruling the fifth, then it's good to locate the moon for more of an insight. So I'm going to just take my own chart to show one example of what I mean. Now I have Capricorn ruling the fifth house with, as you can see on the screen, a fifth house stellium, which probably a lot of people would think, what a mess. Now, that stellium, okay, that stellium is a whole story of its own. But what I want to do is I want to just more specifically look at the location of Saturn, because of course Saturn does rule over Capricorn within astrology. So I have Saturn in Aquarius in the 6th house. And I would say that I am very cautious. I'm a very cautious person when it comes to love, and I take it very seriously, maybe too seriously at times. But what I am attracted to in terms of lovers, I would say I'm attracted to responsible lovers, people who are mature, more committed, lovers with a plan. And I also would say I'm attracted to lovers who share tasks and responsibilities with me in a very effective, efficient way. And the way that I show my love, yeah, I would say it's more practical. Though to be fair, I have been told by my partner that I can be quite robotic and calculative. He definitely notices my struggle to express my love in an emotional way. Though still, I would say that I can be good when it comes to physical touch, that side of love. I can be quite affectionate, and the way I do that is through just touch and by having my partner close. Though at the same time, I don't really give into the typical societal version of love and romance. I prefer to make my own rules instead of giving into what others tell me to do. Now, that's not to say that I don't doubt myself, because I very much can. Yeah, I can be quite hard on myself. But I suppose for me, my version of love is growing old with my partner. I love the idea of a love that withstands the test of time. It's like a bit of a dream of mine. Though, to be fair, that I would say that Neptune in my chart is sort of playing a role there too, because if you look at my chart, I also have Neptune, which is making an exact degree to my Venus there. But we will be getting more into Neptune throughout this video. As I said, make sure that you're locating that 5th house ruler for more information on love and romance, okay? So looking at those romantic relationships. Naturally though, people whose planets fall into your 5th house can suggest or show a romantic connection or a love affair. So if you have Libra on the 5th house, maybe someone with their personal planets in Libra, or just any planets in Libra to be fair, can make you feel special. They can make you feel admired. Or if you have Scorpio on the 5th house there, then maybe someone with their planets in Scorpio, they make you feel special, they make you feel admired, so on and so forth with that. Then again, it might be that they're dominant in that particular sign, or it might be someone who gives off these types of qualities, okay? So they give off these qualities and then you end up having a love affair or romantic relationship with them. Right, so hopefully all of this is making sense so far, but just following along. It's also good to locate the position of the Sun along with your Leo house for more information into that 5th house. It's the Sun in your birth chart that can show you how you shine, how you radiate, how you stand out. It's associated with our individuality and with our feelings of specialness. And this is important, I think. And it's also why I don't think the Sun should be overlooked. The reason for why I say this is because if you struggle to acknowledge yourself, or if you have difficulty appreciating your individuality, then how on earth are you going to feel loved or seen or appreciated within a romantic relationship? How are you going to flourish in love? How are you going to accept that somebody else loves you or thinks that you're special to them if you don't even accept these things within yourself? And as someone with Saturn making a conjunction to the Sun in Aquarius, along with Leo in the 12th, I get the struggle, okay? I get it. But on the flip side of this, maybe you're someone who fully acknowledge your specialness. Maybe you wholeheartedly accept who you are, or you're very authentic to who you are and you're confident in who you are. So with this, maybe you're an individual who has Leo in the 5th house, and then you've got your Sun in Sagittarius. So with these placements, you might be fun and spontaneous and really exciting in love. You might love having many romantic flings, or you might enjoy the lightheartedness that love brings, the joy and the thrill that it brings into your life. And so you might appreciate or enjoy the many new experiences that love and romance brings into your life. See, that's a very different experience than if someone has Virgo in the 5th house with Sun in Scorpio, for example. I just hope you get where I'm coming from when it comes to just the importance of the position of the Sun within the chart. And also, of course, remember aspects, though I think that goes without saying. And I guess that this leads me on to another house to mention, and that is the 2nd house, because it's this house that is associated with our self-worth, with our self-esteem. And I think this is also pretty important. It's just really important to look at this house when it comes to love, because it's it's our self-worth that can determine what we accept or what we tolerate within relationships and when it comes to love, keeping in mind that the second house is traditionally ruled by Venus, and it's also opposing the 8th house of deep connection and intimacy. Plus, it's also making a square aspect to the 5th house. So there is a connection between how we value ourselves and how we feel within a romantic relationship. So for example, let's say you have Scorpio on the 2nd and then you've got Aquarius on the 5th. Keeping in mind that we're going by the whole sign system just for the purpose of this video today. So if you have these placements, you may possess deep feelings of power when it comes to your self-worth. You may possess a determination, a very strong determination to hold your own and to rise up no matter how many times you've been knocked down. It may be that there have been a lot of transformations you've went through when it comes to your self-worth, but then it's like through each transformation you become more emotionally resilient. And so you get to a point where you're like, I refuse to be toyed with by others. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, a romantic endeavor starts to unfold, but then you start to shield your feelings, you shield your emotions. You won't easily let that person in on your private space, and so you might prefer to have space to begin with, right? To have your own space at the very beginning. To sort of scope out or to assess the situation or to make sure that you're playing it in a safe way for yourself. So you might date a few people before you make a decision, for example, or you might prefer to do things differently with each and every romantic experience that you have in order to really figure out what works best for you as an individual. And you may also cut a potential lover off in a heartbeat if they mess with you. But then let's say, for example, you have Aries in the 2nd house and then you've got Cancer in the 5th house. There's a suggestion of there being a selfish I am who I am attitude when it comes to your self-worth. And there may also be a boldness and like a fighting spirit when it comes to your self-worth as well. So when it comes to love and romance, there can be a cautiousness, a sort of sussing out of the other person. And you may also pay very, very close attention to your feelings and to your intuition. It's these things that you may pay close attention to when faced with a potential lover. Or maybe what you're seeking from a loving relationship is a comforting, caring type of love, something that makes you feel safe emotionally. So the slightest thing that feels off might be enough to make you retreat. Maybe it's just really important for you that your lover honors who you are. Now also with this, I want you to remember to locate the ruler of the 2nd house and also locate the Taurus house as well for more of an insight into the 2nd house. So for more of an insight into self-esteem and self-worth. But essentially, it's the 2nd house area that can pertain to our self-worth in astrology, which, in my opinion, is an important factor when it comes to love and relationships. And this leads me on to the next house to be discussed, which is the 7th house. Now, the 7th house is another house that's ruled by Venus in astrology, though the main difference between the 2nd and the 7th is that the 7th is more focused on one-on-one relationships, whilst the 2nd is more focused on self-worth, along with things, along with stuff that we love, or things that we find pleasurable. Which, just sidetracking here, just for a moment, at the beginning I said that love, well, one of the definitions of love is also a great interest and pleasure in something. And this has, to me anyway, the 2nd house energy just written all over it. So when it comes to that 2nd house in your chart, it can also show you the types of items or products that you love and that you enjoy and that you find pleasure in purchasing. It can show you how you approach the material world. It can show you how you deal with money and with your possessions. And I think that it's also these things that can contribute to love with another person, that is. I mean, if you love or enjoy similar things to your partner, then that's something that you can bond over. Or if you value similar things in life to your partner, then it'll typically create more harmony within the relationship. Then again, maybe you and your lover have completely different interests or values, but you still admire or you still appreciate those things within one another. So just keep these things in mind when it comes to locating Venus in your chart or somebody else's chart. So I would say with this, if you're looking at a synastry chart between you and somebody else, look for Venus for more indication into that second house in terms of what your interests are, in terms of what your values are, and also when it comes to self-worth as well. And just as much as you're looking for Venus when it comes to the second house, also look to Venus for more insight into the 7th house. So back to the 7th. This is basically where a relationship crosses the threshold from just dating to a long-term relationship, or more of a committed relationship, or to a relationship where both parties know where they stand. And the 7th house is also the house of marriage, so it can provide an indication into the type of person that you might end up marrying. But marriage itself is something that I want to get to at a later stage. But for the purpose of this video, we're looking at the 7th house through the lens of the stage that comes after dating or getting to know someone, where things become more solidified. So in this way, it's a house that pertains to what we're looking for long term, what we're looking for in a companion who will be with us by our side for the foreseeable future. You may marry them, you may not marry them. It shows us the types of qualities we're attracted to in others. Now, it can also show us the type of qualities we're opposed to as well. It can look at enemies, open enemies, but there's also a type of unison that it can occur from within the 7th house. And as I said, it can show us qualities that we're seeking from within a relationship. Now, this relationship, it can be platonic, but it can also pertain to business partnerships and any type of partnership really, keeping in mind that we are focusing more on romantic relationships today. So let's say you have Sagittarius in the 7th. You might be looking for a companion or a partner who is adventurous and wise, knowledgeable. Or let's say you have Cancer on the 7th. You might be looking for a partner who is warm and protective and supportive. So whatever the qualities may be, it's the 7th house energy that can really address what we're attracted to within our relationships, along with challenges that we face within our one-on-one relationships. And of course, it's these things that can affect our love lives. They can affect the romantic feelings that we have developed from within the 5th house. I mean, how many times have you heard of long-term relationships or marriages ending because the romance was dead or because a spark was no longer there? This is why I believe it's important to work on the love and the romance that exists within our one-on-one relationships. I can just see how love and our long-term relationships, how they can really go hand in hand, especially if we're crossing that threshold into marriage with somebody else. Though with this, also make sure that you're locating Venus in the chart along with the ruler of your 7th house, as well as the Libra house, for more insight into your partnerships that are based on mutual agreements. Now, what I want you to also remember when it comes to Venus is that your Venus sign can show you how you show love. as well as how you receive love. So definitely make sure that you are locating Venus within the chart. And naturally, following on from this, remember Venus when it comes to synastry. So trying to locate then where your partner's Venus falls in your own chart and where your Venus falls in your partner's chart. Though another quick thing that I want to mention is the location of the moon as well. The moon is also pretty important when it comes to love because, well, of how love is something that is connected with intense, deep affection, like I said at the very beginning. And so with the moon can sort of give us an indication into our more affectionate side. It can show us our caring side, how it is that we support others emotionally. And of course, it's all about feelings. And love is that very deep feeling that we have for others. So when you're looking at the moon, yes, look at it. You can look at it in terms of romantic relationships, but there's also that deeper emotional attachment involved there when it comes to attraction. But that is something that I want to get into within a different video. So yeah, look for the moon, look for your moon sign to kind of show you how you provide emotional support or how you show affection, how you show your partner that you care. But I still do want to look deeper into this in a separate video. Though the final thing that I want to mention when it comes to love and romance is actually Neptune. Now, Neptune is the higher octave of Venus in astrology, but it's also associated with unconditional love. So whereas maybe Venus is more conditional love, of course, connected with contracts and agreements, Neptune is more connected with unconditional love. And whilst Venus energy is more about joining together or pairing up, Neptune energy is more about merging or losing oneself in someone or something. And it's also associated greatly with romanticism and with chasing the high that love can bring us. It's basically through Neptune that we chase after those feelings of ecstasy and just pure bliss within love. And it's these feelings that can make us do the most irrational, illogical, and unexplainable things. So you might forgive someone time and time again, even if they have repeatedly hurt you, for example, or you might move in with someone else after knowing them for a whole of 5 minutes, or you might dissolve your own personality as you merge with someone else's, and then you start to become someone that you're not. And then with this, you start to become unrecognizable. All because, well, you were blinded. Blinded by love, blinded by the ideal, by the fantasy, by the dream, by something that you orchestrated in your mind, something that you romanticized. Essentially here, when it comes to Neptune, we're presented with the ideals of love and with the type of love that we dream of experiencing. But you know what? Sure, yes, such previous events as mentioned, they could happen. But on the other hand, unconditional love can be very, very powerful when it comes to our romantic relationships, when it comes to love, because it can represent love with no conditions, love without any limitations. Think of a mother, for example, who has just given birth to her newborn baby. Maybe that mother will show unconditional love towards the baby in order to ensure that the baby survives. Or take a religious married couple as another example. Maybe they're a couple who believe that they should love one another unconditionally. Even think of the times when relationships can be so conditional. So an example of this could be saying, if you do this for me, then I'll do this for you. Or because you did that, I'm not doing that. I guess in a way, sometimes conditions in love, they can tear them apart, the relationship apart, I mean. They can create discord at the very least. They can create disharmony. But the beauty, I suppose, the more positive spin of unconditional love is that we can offer love freely. And we don't base it on what the other person does for us in return. Essentially, unconditional love is simply us showing love to someone else because we love them, not because we expect something else in return. So when it comes to your birth chart, try locating Neptune for more of an insight into unconditional love. So for example, if you have Neptune in the 4th house, maybe you do show unconditional love towards your family. Or if you have Neptune in the 3rd house, maybe you show unconditional love towards your siblings or your classmates. But keeping it with romantic relationships could maybe be suggested with this, that if you have Neptune in the 5th or if you have Neptune in the 7th, of course remember Pisces as well, so Pisces on the 5th or Pisces in the 7th, then there may be a likelihood of you showing unconditional love within romantic affairs that you have or within romantic relationships. Then again, maybe if you have Neptune in the 12th house, there could be unconditional love and devotion towards God or towards a higher power. And then it's due to that devotion that you then practice it within your own relationships. That's just a suggestion. These are all suggestions that I'm making with this. They're all examples. But if you're looking for more information into unconditional love, then definitely be sure to locate Neptune, your Pisces house, and also look for the ruler of your 12th house in your birth chart. And remember synastry. So putting this back into synastry, let's say that you have, so your Neptune falls into your partner's 2nd house, then you may show unconditional love towards your partner through the likes of money and finances. So there's not that kind of, oh, you need to give that back to me. It's just like, there's no conditions with this. Or let's say your Neptune falls into your partner's 6th house, then maybe there's more of an unconditional love through acts of service. So again, look at synastry, but I do hope that you get where I'm coming from through these examples. And I also, just to finish off this video, I also think an important element of Neptune and Pisces in the 12th house energy is forgiveness. Because forgiveness is kind of important and necessary in any romantic relationship. And I think that by forgiving our partners for their mistakes and for their flaws, we can create a stronger bond with them rather than holding them over their head. Though of course, I do understand that it'll really depend on the situation. And in this, the whole part of it, it's very grey. I mean, Pisces is a very grey sign. It's not black and white. But with this being said, I could kind of see why Venus is exalted in the sign of Pisces. Because forgiveness is not easy, especially if we've been really, really hurt. But who knows, maybe forgiveness can help us let go rather than holding on to the past sometimes. So yeah, maybe Neptune within your birth chart, it can point you towards where you forgive. Then again, on the flip side, maybe it can show you where you give too many chances for your own good, where you can be too forgiving. And then you wonder why you're surrounded by users. And this is why it's good to use some discretion when it comes to Neptune, because it might be that you're looking for love in all of the wrong places. Though essentially, we might become swept away by our emotions within our Neptune house in hopes of reaching nirvana, reaching that state of pure loving bliss. But sooner or later, we gotta come back down and face reality. I'm gonna end it there. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes my very long video all about how you can find love and romance using astrology. Now, I would like to definitely know your thoughts and opinions on today's video. I would like to know what you thought of the video. Just, yeah, let me know in the comment section down below. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And of course, if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then definitely make sure that you click that subscribe button. And also make sure that you give this video a like, remember. And I will be back with another video very soon. Bye!